Shola Oyewole. I am the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities with headquarters in Accra, Ghana. On behalf of the Association of African Universities, AAU, and the International Union of Food Science and Technology, IUFOST, let me welcome every one of us to this regional webinar on leadership and capacity building in food science and technology in Africa. The theme of this capacity building program today is promoting collaboration and partnership for research development among academic leaders in food science and technology. Let me especially appreciate Judith, the Secretary General of IUFOST, for the great preparation she has made towards this particular webinar. And permit me also to specially welcome Dr. Aman Wirakata Kusuma, the President of IUFOST, who is going to give us an opening speech. Dr. Aman, you are welcome.
Once again, thank you very much, Prof. Oyewole. Dear professors, head of departments, IUFOST officials, participants, ladies and gentlemen. As the President of the International Union of Food Science Technology, IUFOST, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you to this regional webinar on leadership and capacity building in food science and technology in Africa. The chosen theme, which is promoting collaboration and partnership for research development among academic leaders in food science technology, resonates strongly with the Memorandum of Understanding between the Association of African University, AAU, and IUFOST. I express my gratitude to all the speakers, chairs, vice chairs, including Professor Oyewole, Dr. Charles Awor, Dr. Ruth Onyango, Dr. Folsing, Dr. Said Rizvi, Dr. Kawi, Dr. Samuel Godefroy, and the rapporteurs, Dr. Obadina and Mrs. Kua Betsy, and of course, to Judith, the IUFOST Secretary General, along with the Secretariat team who facilitated all technical arrangements for this webinar. I wish everyone fruitful and successful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wirakata Kusuma, Professor Aman. Thank you very much for your kind words and the opening remarks. My name is Samuel Godefroy. I'm the President-elect of the International Union of Food Science and Technology, and it is my privilege to contribute to the moderation of this event and to essentially contribute to cementing the great relationship and the developing collaboration between our two organizations. This session hopefully will create really a starting point for discussions around building capacity in food science and technology, or continuing the development of such capacity with the contribution of both organizations. It is my great pleasure right now to introduce once again Professor Oyewole, the Secretary General for the Association of African Universities and the co-chair of this event, to introduce essentially his keynote address to us. For all participants to this event, I believe that you have the biographies of all our speakers. I will not do justice to any of them in trying to summarize that, but let me simply say that Professor Oyewole has over 35 years of experience in the higher education space in Africa and beyond, an exceptional track record and experience in international and intergovernmental relations, advocacy, and lobbying for research and research funding. Professor Oyewole, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Geoffrey. Meet me, share my presentation at this particular time. Once again, let me welcome us to this regional webinar on leadership and capacity building in food science and technology in Africa. I want to especially appreciate Judith Mesh, the Secretary General of IUFOST, the President of IUFOST, Dr. Aman, and the incoming President, Professor Geoffrey. I want to note that this webinar is in recognition of the Memorandum of Agreement for Networking, Collaboration through Research, Curriculum Development, Promotion and Sharing of Knowledge in Food Science and Technology between AAU and IUFOST. Ladies and gentlemen, The Association of African Universities was established in 1967, and today we are the voice of higher education in Africa. We are responsible for enhancing the quality and relevance of higher education in Africa in order to strengthen its contribution to Africa's development. Today, AAU remains the leading advocate for higher education in Africa, with capacity to provide support for its member institutions in meeting national, continental, and global needs. And we represent the continent on issues connected with higher education in international fora. Today, I'm speaking on an initiative that we started in AU called the African Research, Innovation, and Development Network, AFRIT Network. Basically, we look at that one of our responsibilities within the continent is to ensure that we have quality education, because quality education is needed for development in Africa. Quality research is very important. It's essential for driving Africa's development. And we want to enhance the contribution of research to the development of the African continent. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not just want to end up with doing research for research's sake. We believe that research should lead to innovation and contribute to development. Hence, the purpose for setting up this network called the African Research, Innovation, and Development Network. The purpose for this network is about expanding and enhancing significantly the quality of research done in Africa by African researchers and empowering universities in Africa to be focused to development. It is high time that we make our leaders in Africa to know the importance of our universities and the relevance of research to our development within the continent. So what we are doing is this. The AFRIT network is bringing together a number of peer African institutions and researchers that are willing to work together with a view to generating a critical mass that could more effectively support development initiative in African development in the African continent. Today, our vision is that researchers working in the same area in Africa should know themselves. They should be able to communicate among themselves. They should be able to network among themselves. And we hope that this AFRIT network that we started will help us to achieve this purpose. This network is anchored in the Association of African Universities. But beyond the Association of African Universities, we have an international collaboration in Spain, Barcelona, called OBREC Global. And with this, we hope to work with the European Union and other supporting agencies within the continent and outside the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, our goal is to strengthen African universities and their capacity to undertake research for development. We hope that this will help research in Africa to result to innovation and contribute to African development. Our mission is the promotion of research networks among African universities. And we've been able to get out many research networks within the continent. We have research network for food science and technology, climate resonance and ocean, health and pharmacy, entrepreneurship and social impact. Let me focus attention on the food science and technology network of AFRIT. The overall intention here is to ensure that researchers working in the area of food science and technology should have a database. And through this database, they should be able to communicate among themselves. And through this database, we should work together in that we could do some joint research and joint activities together that can promote the vision of this network. Ladies and gentlemen, the objectives of the Food Science and Technology Network in Africa is the promotion of network and cooperation through research, curricular promotion, knowledge sharing in the area of food science and technology, and we hope that by this, we'll be able to promote innovation and development in the area of food science and technology. This network will be committed to the following activities, and which we have started. I want to appreciate AAU-IUFOST for initiating these activities we started under the collaboration with AAU-IUFOST. One, right now, we are developing the database of African researchers who are working in the area of food science and technology. We are also developing a database of institutions in Africa offering food science and technology programs in their various institutions. We hope that through this networking, we'll be promoting knowledge sharing, information dissemination among researchers in food science and technology. We also hope that through this network, we'll promote the building of capacities in some specific research areas that are needed for development. Ladies and gentlemen, the areas where Africa has been divided based on our colonial history should be gone. We hope that we need to promote regional integration of researchers in Africa. Those working in the French region, English-speaking region, Francophone regions, we hope that it's time we work together as African researchers with the same focus. Our intention for the future is that this network should promote academic mobility. We should be able to move within the continent. It should also promote thesis support and training, especially for our young people. We hope that this network will help us to nurture the future food researchers within the continent. We'll be in this network, we'll be promoting capacity building just as the one we're having. And we hope that where there are research calls, we'll be able to share it within this network for possible joint research proposals among ourselves. This network will be committed to organizing workshops and meetings from time to time within the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, this is briefly the information about the African Research, Innovation and Development Network. It is set up to become a Pan-African network for Africans, for bringing researchers and academic excellence to contributing to African development. And through this network, we'll be able to, connect researchers working in the areas of food science and technology within the African continent and connect them to AAU-IUFOST. This network will be solely connected to AAU-IUFOST, and we shall collaborate with AAU-IUFOST in all our activities. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share this with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Oyewole, for sharing these insights, and definitely congratulations for all these great networks that have been developed. No doubt that these enabling tools will promote food science and technology amongst the researchers and the academics and beyond within the African continent. We'll move back now to our own IUFOST president, Professor Aman Takusuma, so the current president of IUFOST, and Dr. Aman will speak to us about the perspectives of IUFOST and its focus on Africa. Professor Takusuma, the floor is yours.
Thank you once again, Dr. Samuel Godefroy. Once again, hello everyone. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. I'm very honored to welcome you all to this significant webinar focused on empowering Africa's food science and technology and the pivotal roles that collaboration and partnership play in fostering its growth. Today marks a crucial milestone as we converge to discuss the transformative potential of food science technology in Africa and the indispensable role of the International Union of Food Science Technology alongside with the Association of African Universities. Africa stands at the crossroads with its burgeoning population and dynamic socioeconomic landscape, presenting both challenges and opportunities. As we navigate through the complexities of ensuring food security, safety, and sustainability, it becomes increasingly apparent that innovation and collaboration are imperative. While the global agriculture, food businesses and industries, and we as a scientific professional organization have a significant interest in African development. This is due to several factors. One is the market potential. Africa has a rapidly growing population, which is expected to double by 2050. And this demographic trend presents a vast market opportunity for agriculture and food businesses. 2, natural resources. Africa is endowed with abundant natural resources, including arable land, water resources, and diverse range of agroecological zones. 3, untapped potential. Despite its vast natural resources, the parts of African agriculture sectors that remain largely underdeveloped present an opportunity for agriculture and food businesses sector to leverage their expertise, technologies, and resources to unlock the continent's agriculture potential, improve productivity, and enhance value chains. 4, investment opportunities. Africa offers attractive investment opportunities across the agriculture and food value chains, including farming, processing, distribution, and retailing. 5th is regional integration. Africa is witnessing increasing regional integration efforts, including the establishment of regional economic communities and trade agreement. This integration process goes along with the presence of the Association African University. 6 is sustainability and responsible sourcing. With growing consumer awareness and concern about sustainability, food safety, and ethical sourcing, we are seeking to diversify our own supply chains and adopt sustainable practices. Africa's vast natural resources and potential for sustainable agriculture offer opportunities for partnership and sourcing of sustainable produce raw materials. This potential requires concerted effort and strategic partnership. It is here that the role of organizations like IUFOST and AAU becomes paramount. By fostering collaboration among researchers, industry experts, policymakers, international organizations, and communities, and other stakeholders, we can harness the collective wisdom and expertise necessary to drive meaningful change. Within the capacity of IUFOST, through initiatives such as knowledge sharing, capacity building, joint research endeavors, networking, advocacy and policy support, curriculum development, and access to resources, IUFOST can serve as the catalyst for empowering Africa's food science and technology sector and strengthening the capacity and impact of African universities in addressing the food-related challenges prevalent on the continent. By fostering a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, thereby unlocking fresh avenues for economic growth and societal progress amidst the backdrop of globalization and digital transformation. Overall, IUFOST can play a crucial role in empowering African universities in their efforts to advance with science, technology, education, research, and innovation. IUFOST also providing the programs for the assessment and benchmarking of curriculum of food science and technology and food safety globally, which also could be done for African universities. Today's webinar serves as a platform for dialogue, collaboration, and inspiration. Over the course of our discussion, we will explore best practices, innovative approaches, and success stories from across the continent. By learning from each other's experiences and perspective, we can chart a course toward a brighter, more sustainable future of African food system. In closing, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all speakers, chair and co-chairs, and participants for their invaluable contribution. Together, let us reaffirm our commitment to empowering Africa's food science technology sector, forging lasting partnership, and building a better future for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Aman Wirakatusuma. Thank you for sharing the great vision and for charting the path forward for the development of our food science and technology community, and also for highlighting the tremendous potential of opportunities in the creation of synergies between our organization, IUFOST, and the Association of African Universities. We will now have the opportunity to hear from Professor Charles Awer. Professor Awer is the president of the International Academy of Food Science and Technology. He is the recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award and past Academy Chair of the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, amongst so many other achievements. Professor Awer, the floor is yours, and you will be discussing the importance of mentorship.
Thank you very much for that introduction. If I may now share my screen. Sorry, okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm greatly delighted to make this presentation on leadership and capacity building in food science and technology in Africa. And I will be talking specifically about the importance of mentoring. Academic mentoring, which is guidance provided by an experienced senior academic or a mentor to a younger colleague or mentee, is one of the defining universal features of universities that is crucial to the growth and development of the university system. Mentoring by senior colleagues is essential for the professional development and career advancement of young academics, and for imbibing the qualities of excellence in line with academic traditions, academic code of conduct, university policies and practices, ethics in research, good character, and other universal academic values that are applicable no matter where the university is located. And we cannot take the universal out of the university. So these values cut across. An academic mentor is a role model, a coach, a guide, an enabler, motivator, advisor, advocate, supporter, critic, amongst others. These days, the academic career begins essentially with the acquisition of the PhD degree, and the doctorate program of 3 or more years offers a unique opportunity for mentoring and must not be seen merely as the supervision of a research project, but the building of a lifelong relationship in which the supervisor brings his or her knowledge and experience to bear in positively transforming his or her PhD student. That was my own experience, and I am still close to my PhD supervisor at Cornell, Emeritus Professor C.Y. Lee, who remains my mentor today. And I was also close to late Emeritus Professor Malcolm Bond, who was also my Cornell teacher, himself a past president of the International Academy of Food Science and Technology, who passed on in 2016 at a very ripe old age. I have, following their examples, tried to build the same lifelong relationships with my own former PhD students. One of the key objectives of this webinar is to build academic linkages and partnerships outside Africa and provide opportunities for young academics to have global mentors of influence. To start with, there are many research fellowships abroad that African young scientists can benefit from, and that global mentors can help facilitate. I have had the privilege of being mentored by renowned world-class scientists through such fellowships. including the late Dr. H.G. Muller of the University of Leeds, who was reputed for his great work on African cereals, the late Emeritus Professor Shuro Nakai of the University of British Columbia, well known for his simplex optimization, who, as at the time when I was with him in his laboratory in 1985, already had a laptop. And of course, the late Professor Dr. Volker Kasche of Technische Universität Hamburg-Harburg, renowned for his work on penicillin amidase. These are individuals that have influenced me tremendously, for which I will remain eternally grateful. And I hope that by sharing our personal experiences, we will also enrich our discussion today. I want to thank you very sincerely for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Shalsaworth, and really for highlighting the positive impacts that these type of relationships can have on us, and actually how we can continue to contribute in building bridges that extend actually the continents in this particular area and consolidating our food science and technology community. We now have the privilege to welcome Professor Ruth Onyang. Professor Onyang, also like many of our speakers, all of our speakers, does not need an introduction. She is the founder of the Rural Outreach Africa, a former shadow minister of education in Kenya, served as past president of the International Academy of Food Science and Technology, and is the founder of the African Journal of Food, Agriculture, Nutrition, and Development. Professor Onyang, welcome, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Doc Sam, and thank you for chairing so ably, welcoming us here. Let me also thank everyone, especially AAU. It's been a while since I interacted with you. Professor Lusola, thank you for the great work you are doing. And then our President Aman and Charles, you know, you and I have been twins at the AAU-IUFOST for a long time. It's just a pleasure to be here. The reason why I agreed to speak today was not to have some PowerPoint presentation or to be technical. It's just to encourage us all, and to say that this collaboration is long overdue. Truly, it's been long overdue. But maybe it's just coming at the right time, you know, coming at a time when the issue of food has become so critical for the whole world, and Africa as a continent, the cradle of mankind, you know, the provider of what could be food for the world, is lagging behind in understanding the science of what we eat. We are talking of the science of food. You know, it's not just presenting it there and imagining what it could be, but we have to understand what it is and what we are taking in. We've just come out of Corona, and we know how so critical our traditional foods were during those times, you know, and Africa really, with all the natural resources, we had to go back to what our ancestors were eating, to go back to those roots, to go back to the herbs, and we were able to present that in many of the webinars that went on. You know, Prof. Awoth, you know, this is your area of expertise. You know, our past president, you know, also we've talked about this of AAU-IUFOST, how these natural foods are so critical. They are not just food, but they are medicine as well. And there's a lot for us in Africa to share with the rest of the world. And it's not just, we don't have the facilities, first of all, to be able to analyze, you know, to the very nitty-gritty of what our natural resources contain, but the rest of the world, the North, for example, with their advanced laboratories can do that. So collaboration can be very crucial for us. And secondly, we don't have universities well equipped to train our young people. Many of the ones who actually operate at the global level in IUFOST have trained overseas, but with the collaboration with IUFOST, partnerships with other universities, I'm sure can help equip our universities in Africa. Like our President Amana said, we have a fast growing population. We need more food science professionals. We can't send them all overseas because it's expensive. And when we do, they really come back home to take advantage of what we have. And so this kind of collaboration, I see it right now, is going to be a win-win situation for all of us. We learn from each other. Food is so cultural and so intimate to all of us, and we need to understand it even before we put it out there for other people to understand it. So I'm just wanting to support this and to say that with the collaboration, Prof. Olusola, IUFOST can actually assist us to reach our governments. Firstly, to appreciate what research is all about. And the research in food science and technology. This is a discipline that is taking too long to grow on the continent. And yet we know how so important it is. And I think with your network of universities and those who are represented here, we can do a lot. Our governments need to invest. They rarely invest in research itself, but we need to invest in food now. And right now, food is connected to everything. And with climate change, with, pandemics, which are just around the corner, disease management, just staying healthy as a people on this fast-growing continent, we need to really have a food science and technology and allied fields sector to grow as much as we can. And the leadership aspect is right here. And we need to really move forward. And the mentoring that Prof. Howard talked about, I do that at my own level here. I have young scientists in Kenya, I've been making it to grow, and they are really eager to go forward. So we can help each other, and not just with the technical aspect, but also with the sourcing funds. Sourcing funds from our partners, because we need labs, first of all. We need labs to actually be able to analyze what we have. We need evidence. We need proof of concept before we go out there to consumers, to governments, to private sector. It's very, very important that we actually have very, very good labs. And I think partnerships with other universities will help us a lot. And I can tell you that we don't have enough leadership at the IUFOST level itself, because you need countries to have their own chapters, to be able then to attend the global level. And then many of the positions come through election. And election has to be collegial. People have to know you. You have to have achieved. You have to persist. Many of our young people don't even have resources, funding to attend many of these international conferences. And so we need a critical mass of us to actually be there to be seen. And so as some of us begin to exit the stage, I'm still there, very strong, I hope, because I normally say when you are in this field of food sciences and nutrition, you don't age quickly and you don't leave the stage very quickly. So I want to just encourage, as an elder in this field and as an elder on the continent, and to also encourage our IUFOST people, that officials and professionals, that Africa is the continent of now and is the continent of tomorrow, and that we all need to support it. And to just also thank you for the support you have given those of us who have been there. Judith Mitch, my good friend of many, many years. Thank you so much, Judith. So I'll leave it there. And my recommendation is this. Let's keep this one up. And Prof. Olusola, I would actually even recommend that we have a committee, You need a committee to start to take this forward. For example, if you want to go to governments, to talk to them, to support. You know how our African governments are. you need that. And I think a lot of advocacy and a lot of lobbying. Yeah, I think we can do it. Thank you so much for listening to me, and let's enjoy it. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ruth, for these inspiring remarks, and also for highlighting the assets that the African continent has in the area of food, and definitely for the tremendous potential that our collaboration with the AAC can have in shaping up the future of this area, and potentially, as you said, in promoting this beyond even the area of academia, at governments and so many other forums. We have now the privilege to welcome another colleague, another scientist, quite distinguished, Professor Paul Singh, distinguished Professor Emeritus of Food Engineering at the University of California, Davis, and amongst other distinctions, elected to the United States National Academy of Engineering. Professor Singh will be speaking to us about digitalization, virtual learning in food science and technology, and its potential. Professor Singh, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen, and let's see if I can get this to presentation mode. So are you seeing the presentation mode, just to
Not
clarify?
yet.
Not yet.
As of yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let me go back and then try that again. Here we go. So
now we do. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. So first, I'd like to thank the organizers for their very kind invitation. I'm delighted to participate in this webinar. So in the next 15 minutes or so, I'll briefly present some of the examples of our work in the area of digitalization and virtual learning in food science and technology. I do consider myself to have been very lucky and fortunate that my professional career overlapped a time frame that spanned from using a slide rule that I used during my PhD for calculations to now considering the use of machine learning or AI in education. I've had the opportunity to work with many students, many talented students, postdocs, and visiting scientists, and also my association with ISECI, a group in European Union that I will talk about a little bit later, relevant to our discussion today. So here was my class that I taught when I took retirement. I began teaching with a similar classroom in 1974, when I had this notion that everybody in the classroom does not learn in the same manner, let's say just from the lecture. And that notion was confirmed later on by many studies, including that of Professor Howard Gardner from Harvard University, that there are indeed multiple intelligences among learners, that there are those who learn from lectures, but then there are others who learn from doing experiments in the lab or through reasoning, through models, through calculations, through class discussions, and through graphics or video and photographs and so on. So how do we address those issues? One size fits all does not work in a classroom where we often end up giving lectures. And quite often, there is a disconnect between the instructor and the student. And that is reflected in poor grades in examinations, inability to perform well in the follow-up classes, lack of motivation, and also being poorly prepared then to enter the workforce. So we have often looked at how we can utilize technology in teaching. And of course, one of the very first technology we used for many, many years is chalkboard. Then came the overhead projector and the slide projector and radio and TV and video. But in 1984, something happened. There was a disruptive technology that was introduced. In fact, it was exactly 40 years ago during Super Bowl that some of you may know, a game that is played here in the US. We just had it a couple of days ago. Well, there are commercials that are shown during that game. And in 1984, Apple Computer introduced Apple Macintosh on January 24, 1984. And that made that device easier to use in a variety of different ways, including those of us who have been involved in education. And you know, from then onwards, a number of other technological tools became available. PowerPoint, the internet, YouTube, and now we are talking about AI. So in this time frame, a lot of these developments as they were coming along, we wanted to create content that could utilize these technologies that were for us to enhance learning in classroom and also to improve access to education. So very briefly, I'm going to demonstrate 5 examples to you. And the first one that we worked way back a number of years ago, and that was that in the classroom, when I show something like this, I can talk about, say, a pump with a motor, but you don't get an idea as to what really goes on inside the pump. How do you increase the pressure and so on? But if I have an animation of that same device, I can convey my ideas much better to everybody in the classroom. And so we created a number of animations of more complex equipment that we then provided on the web. And this way, again, to simplify how we convey concepts and get better understanding by those folks in the classroom. And there were somewhere over 100 of these animations that were created and made available on the internet. Now we know the second example that hands-on lab experiences are gold standard of student engagement. But we also know that in food processing and food science, many of the experiments take a long time to carry out. For example, a retort sterilization lab, which runs for a couple of hours with just one condition. And during that time, students are basically in the mode of stand and look. We wanted to extend this further. How can we utilize, again, some of the technology to help improve? And this helped us to create virtual laboratory. This is a personalized engagement with an experiment, where you conduct a virtual experiment to augment hands-on lab experiment and use, for this purpose, simulations that come from research, from some of our own research that we use then to create simple and easy to use labs that could be designed for teaching with pedagogical objectives. And here again on this website, I show about a couple of dozen virtual labs that we developed and made them available first through CD, but now they are available on the internet. And just to show you an example, this is a lab on food canning, where we can demonstrate different types of equipment that's used in the industry, what kind of procedural steps are there through graphics and through videos. And the heart of that is actually this experiment that one sees then in the lab. Here you can set up the conditions in the virtual lab, you get the profiles, you see what's going on inside the can in terms of heat transfer. You can go back and then change some of those conditions, the retort temperature, heating time, and so on, and then again repeat an experiment. Now, by doing that, you can conduct the same experiment that took 1.5 hours just in few seconds. In other words, you can now generate data from a number of experiments from what you did in class. This helps then for students to get a better understanding of what they were learning in that lab scenario. Third example is about video games. We know that video games are used a lot these days, and we wanted to see how we can create an immersive learning, a state-of-the-art video game that will incorporate then food science, food microbiology, chemistry, physics, engineering, and fun. So we created a couple of these video labs. One is called Bear Island. This was again through a USDA grant, where one goes about an island and looks for various kind of raw materials, what kind of quality aspects you look at, and then go into a brewery and look at all the operations. Another example that I want to share with you briefly comes from a collaboration I had with colleagues at ISECI, a European Union project. And this was again on canning, where I'll show you just a very few seconds clip of this video game, where there is a avatar who is going to be finding out what happened in a plant which led to, say, an outbreak of Clostridium botulinum. And so the purpose here is to walk through the plant, to look at various pieces of equipment, the process, look at what kind of hypothesis you develop in terms of where things may have gone wrong. And from that information, from what you have learned in class and using this video game, you come up with the reason or the cause of what may have gone wrong. So again, these are immersive type of learning experiences that one could develop through video games and engage students in topics related to food science and technology. A couple of examples on improving access to education. Now, back in 1997, NASA had a rover called Sojourner that was landed on Mars. Well, that gave us an idea that if NASA can move an object on Mars, why can't we use the internet to create real experiments at a remote location and then have students participate in those experiments? So I had a very talented visiting professor in my lab, and we developed this particular experiment that briefly I'll show, where we are measuring psychrometric properties of air that are used then for food dehydration. And if I stand next to this equipment, I cannot operate it. It has to be operated through the internet, where you will turn it on, you'll heat the air, you'll find out the psychrometric properties and then download the data and then proceed with analysis and so on. Well, when we created this, we had students from our campus, as well as students from Mexico and Argentina, and instructors from various other countries who participated in these experiments, sharing the data, writing the reports, and so on. Again, we saw this as an opportunity where you break the normal, geographical boundaries and so on, and we can promote networking among students from different parts of the world. And I think it has a tremendous, again, opportunity for us to consider here in our context of discussion today. The last thing I want to mention, example, is video tutorials. This is something I started when I finished my regular career, took retirement, and I created these video tutorials. And this one happens to be one on YouTube that describes a certain computation that you use in refrigeration calculations and so on. I went ahead and put together these. There are about a couple of hundred of them. But what impressed me most was the reception I have had from the food science community around the globe. And this is data provided by Google Analytics as of day before yesterday. there are close to 5 million views of these video tutorials on topics in food science and technology. There are currently about 33,000 subscribers. But another more impressive figure is the number of hours that people have viewed these tutorials. This is 192,000 hours, equivalent to 22 years that I would have to speak continuously if I did not use this particular mode. I looked at the data, which again, Google Analytics provides, country breakdown. And of course, the #1 country here is India, 1.5 million, and then US, about 500,000 views, and so on. So looking at Africa, we have South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, and then Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, and so on. So I get excellent data in terms of viewers from different parts of the world who are using this information on food science and technology topics. Instructor. Well, the role of instructor, as I see, is now in these online experiences, is to supplement the in-class experience. As an instructor, you have to be there. You provide the inspiration and wisdom that only mentors can deliver. And learning should be interactive and project-based, and with students learning from each other and instructors providing that mentorship. And in this era of digitalization, we develop web-based material. And I wanted to show you these examples, all of you who are participating today, who are involved in education, to create material, help students to learn skills about finding information, evaluating information, and creating and distributing that information. So my classroom that had these walls really don't exist. Those walls don't exist. The classroom is around the globe. And I hope that many of you who are participating will take some ideas from here and broaden your scope in terms of teaching as you contribute in the area of food science and technology. And with that, I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Paul Singh. And indeed, congratulations for these great achievements and really highlighting how with new technologies, we can definitely remove boundaries and walls and definitely also promote opportunities of collaboration. With this, I'm going to invite Professor Charles Ower to join me now in facilitating this session. Charles?
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. So should I?
Yes, please.
I will now go ahead and introduce Dr. Paul Singh, or rather, Dr. Syed Rizvi. Now, it is indeed my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Syed Rizvi, a fellow of the International Academy of Food Science and Technology, and international professor of food process engineering at Cornell University. He is a recipient of multiple awards and has served as a visiting professor to several universities. But permit me to make this singular distinction that amongst the many people that Syed has trained is an outstanding mechanical and aeronautic engineer from Nigeria who actually started as a food engineer at Cornell, Dr. Folusho Mike Ladende. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Syed Rizvi of Cornell University. And even perhaps before he comes on, let me walk back and of course, again join in thanking Dr. Paul Singh for what was truly an excellent presentation. Over to you, Syed.
Dr. Rizvi, it seems that you're having a problem unmuting. If I see that correctly in the chat box, perhaps we'll wait a few seconds there to see if this is resolved.
Perhaps we will ask Professor Carway to come on for now.
It's my great pleasure also to introduce here Professor Mukund Carway, Professor and Chair of the Department of Food Science at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. Again, a high level of achievements over the years, a recipient of so many excellence awards, both in teaching and research. We're very fortunate to have you with us, Professor Carway, and the floor is yours, and hopefully we'll be able to reconnect with Professor Rizvi subsequently.
Thank you again for inviting me to join this group. All the esteemed scientists and speakers, this is the first time I am really speaking to this group. I am at Rutgers University in New Jersey. I'm a faculty in the Department of Food Science. I'm a mechanical engineer by formal training, aerospace engineer, and converted into food engineer many years ago. And I have been in that field for 35 years or so. So I also have served as a Dean of International Programs and a department chair. So I do have experience in connecting at various universities across the globe. And I think if I can use that experience in any way to promote capacity building, as you mentioned, in Africa, I'll be extremely happy to do so. I've had experience in Brazil, to India, to China, to other countries, so many other countries. So I can be happy to contribute in any way I can. I'm going to share one slide. I did manage to squeeze in one slide to give you an overview about my research, if that may be helpful. Let's see whether it'll help. I have been working in the area of extrusion for many years, and I continue to do so. And in terms of Africa, I've been thinking about expanding that into other areas like TEFs. And many of you might know that out of 150 or so grains that are produced in the world, we only use 10 or so, and there are so many underutilized grains. Many of them come from Africa, and I would like to use the technology of extrusion to convert the underutilized but extremely valuable grains to make value-added products. Some of the grains that I work with, quinoa and amaranth, and piñao is not a grain, but it's a very special nut kind of product that grows in Brazil. So that's one area that I think I can make a significant contribution. The other area is high pressure processing that I worked on. I had an international grant to work with Thailand to extract discarded, so we could extract bioactive compound by using high pressure processing. So that could be an area that we can use for valorization and resource waste of reducing the waste, so to speak. So there are a lot of other applications in terms of food safety and new technologies that are suitable that could be considered in the right context if there is an opportunity for that. So again, I would like to say that I bring in knowledge in terms of applications of food processing technologies in a relevant way. I have had colleagues here, hibiscus, rooibos tea and whatnot. So again, I can build on the knowledge that I already gained from my colleagues here at Rutgers on those topics. So we can work on that too. You also have a opportunity at Rutgers. I can share that to you. We have a Center for African Studies that has received a significant grant from Madrose Foundation to promote undergraduate education experience for African students. Where they come to Rutgers or the US universities to enhance their education. Initiative that has started at Rutgers. And again, I've not been deeply involved in it, but we can use this opportunity to promote through this also. So there are many opportunities. And again, I would like to contribute any way I can based on my experience as a Dean of International Programs and as a food engineer to promote a variety of processing operations that are relevant to Africa. And that's where I'll stop. Thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to working with this esteemed group in any way I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Professor Carré, and it's indeed, thank you for the offer as well that you made to continue the development of our community. I believe that Dr. Rizvi managed to get back to us, and I'm going to check if we're going to be able to hear you. Syed, are you able to join us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, definitely. We're very glad to have you back.
Oh, thank you. And some reason there are some issues with my internet connectivity. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And now it is in full view. Thank you.
Very good. So thank you for the invite. My role is in the Department of Food Science as a professor of food processing and engineering, but also I wear the hat of international development. This came about after I spent about a year at the State Department, U.S. Department of State, as a Jefferson Science Fellow, where my activities were geared towards development in food science and technology around the world. What role U.S. can play in it, and how we can go about helping countries that are in need of assistance from the U.S. So in that way, we looked at different parts of the world, and I had the fortunate experience of spending some time in Ghana and look at the African food development programs and evaluate them. And one of the things that we looked at was what can higher education do it in terms of improving the quality of education and overall sustainability of the food system as a whole. And when we look at holistically, leadership and capacity building in food science and technology is a necessary but not sufficient in itself to alleviate or make the food system more resilient. So what we looked at was, what are the things that are necessary to make a food system resilient? So capacity building for a resilient food supply from farm gate to marketplace, and where that technology of educating or science and technology and increasing the power of education can assist. And when you look at it in terms of going, what are the necessary steps that must be taken in order to make a resilient system? And first and most of all is market intelligence. You have to know what a country is producing, what it is good at producing, and how it will enter the market. What is the demand for those kinds of commodities that should be grown? Second is the quality and quantity. How much quantity of a given quality can be produced for scale up? And then state-of-the-art technologies in converting raw products into value-added products, and then train manpower enabling that to happen. And then another important part is science, engineering, and technology centers and incubators, where entrepreneurs will have opportunity to practice making a product and testing it, and then evaluating its potential to take to marketplace. And if you look at it, these are the three places where higher education and universities can assist. While these are necessary but not sufficient in themselves. So what else is needed is harmonized standards and regulations a country should have with the rest of the world, and infrastructure, and finally capital. And if you look at what are the important issues, which is the weakest link? These are all interlinked factors. What is the weakest link that really hampers development in creating a resilient system? And it turns out that quantity and quality. You can see that holding in hectares in India is 1.6, Ghana is 3.9, US is 160. So you can produce product, small farmers produce product that are of different types and different quality. For example, we have potatoes of high sugar and low sugar. You make French fries, some of it will turn brown while others are still uncooked. So these are the issues that create a scale-up problem. So therefore, we have to address this. And what are the solutions for doing this? So cooperatives, and farmers set up a cooperative, and many places have done, but they have not been very successful. Contract farming, where big multinationals come and tell we want to buy X quantity of your product, and can you produce it on a contract basis, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. Many countries now have started doing what is known as producer company idea. Now here, science and technology comes into play again, because now farmers are not business people. So if you have a food science person trained in food science, and it combines its expertise with somebody with MBA, with business degree, and now they can create a producer company. The idea is that a bunch of farmers come together and form a company that's run by a trained technical food science person and also a business person, with producers being shareholders, and they all decide to produce the same commodity, same type of commodity or same variety of commodity. And therefore, when you pull them together, you have a large quantity of a defined quality, and you can scale up and make a product that can compete in the world. So therefore, the whole exercise here is, if you look at the role of science and technology and education, is in terms of overall scheme. It should fit into the country's demand for what kind of product is needed, what kind of raw products is available, and what products can be fed into the marketplace that will be of value and will bring return to the farmer. So these are some of the things that are important for us to consider, and when we design science and technology and cooperate in helping each other. So with that, I will stop and answer any questions that you may have. I have a minute or so left. Somebody who wants to make any comments?
Well, thank you very much,
Go ahead, Charles.
Professor Rizvi. You were earlier introduced when you had internet connection problems, and I really want to thank you for your presentation, which has been very, very educative, and for finding the time to spare with us in sharing your
I still cannot hear very well.
So of course, we look forward to greater collaboration with you in this particular project.
Thank you.
So I guess Sam will now open up the discussion as I hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Charles. And again, my thanks, our thanks on behalf of IUFOST go to all the contributors. I think actually you all highlighted the various assets, some of the gaps, but also the potential that a collaboration between the International Union of Food Science and Technology and the Association of African Universities may have. Definitely the field of food production, food science and technology in the continent has a great potential, but so does actually the academic sector in the continent. So I guess, first of all, I'm going to see if any of our participants may have a question. Please feel free to react on the chat. We have actually seen a number of reactions in the chat section to the various contributions, and actually, again, highlighting even the opportunities of networking. But while maybe some of the questions may be developed by our contributors, I'm going to be turning back perhaps to some of the early comments that were made by the leaders of the two organizations, and perhaps ask if some of our contributors can shed some light on the early deliverables that you would want to see taking shape as a result of an enhanced collaboration and partnership between the academic sector represented by the Association of African Universities and the community of food science and technology at the global level.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey. If I may come in right now, there's a question directed at the Association of African Universities in respect of the database of researchers in the areas of food science and technology in Africa. The person is asking if database will be restricted to only universities that are members of the Association of African Universities. The answer is no. This database will be open to researchers in Africa working in area of food science and technology. So there's not going to be restriction to only AAU members. The other question is in respect of support for research in Africa. This person wants to know what we can do so that research in Africa will not be tailored to the interests of the North, where funding for research is coming from. To let him know that I would just want the person to know that we have just developed what we call Research Charter for Africa, where we want to convince funders of research in Africa to help support research that are relevant to the development of Africa. And we hope that we are getting our funding agents, development partners supporting us with this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Obadina, for these comments. And I see that some of the questions are populating the chat box, and perhaps some of these may be directed to the AAC, others to some of our contributors. One of the questions actually may be directed to yourself, Charles, about how could we build mentorship programs? This question is coming from Dr. Sheila Kilonzi from Karatina University in Kenya. I don't know if you can further comment on that, Charles.
Thank you very much, Sam. There is also a comment from Professor Paula Pittia of the University of Teramo in Italy, who is actually doing exactly what that question addresses. So perhaps Professor Pittia can come on and share with us her experiences concerning the linkages with Africa, between Africa and Europe, geared towards promoting food security that also targets the question just raised. So Paula, will you want to come on and please provide an insight into this Erasmus project?
Thank you very much, Charles. I'm honored to contribute to this really interesting session this afternoon. Actually, Africa, I may say, is a priority at European level, and also within the project or the framework, which is called Erasmus. It has actually a main role also in terms of budget and fundings. I just would like to share with you the hypothesis of collaboration between Europe and Africa based on capacity building projects. Just ended the call for this year, but as I wrote also in the chat, there could be the possibility for next year, and we can set a meeting or an opportunity to discuss about it at the next IUFOST conference. These are very good opportunity. Capacity building projects means that we share universities in Europe and African can share knowledge, best practices, work together with the idea and the hypothesis that only if we work together, we will be winner together. And this is the background that can bring us all together working towards the main challenges of the food sector in terms of safety, security, and also in the development of skills and competencies. There are many other initiatives. I mean, University of Teramo, has its own strategy about this, leading and putting together different experts in different fields, working and discussing together about different topics that can be related Africa and Europe together. But nevertheless, in my opinion, the Erasmus program is actually a relevant framework in which we can collaborate all together.
Thank you. Thank you very much for highlighting this opportunity. And I guess I have to offer a correction there. I stand corrected. The previous intervention on the networks in Africa is in fact the intervention of Professor Olusegun Oyewole, the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities. My apologies, I actually misread on the basis of the highlighted icon on Zoom.
Yeah.
So my apologies.
Yeah, just I would like to add just one thing. Actually,
Please.
what Paul Singh, Professor Paul Singh, is a pleasure to see him after a while. What he showed the Zeki Food project actually was one of these kind of projects where we were forward looking from a certain point of view, because we developed virtual tools when virtual tools were actually prehistory. I mean, was something that now is a reality, but in that time was actually something really looking to the future.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for that. And you know, it shows that some of these, I guess, proactive and forward-looking ideas can actually definitely materialize. I see that our president, Professor Aman Wirakartekasuma, is asking for the floor. So please, Professor Aman.
Thank you, Sam. Again, my high appreciation to all the speakers is excellent. And I remember, I think back in maybe 2012 or so, when we are also helping our colleagues from Africa and to develop the distance learning programs. I think Obanina was also involved in this project. So I just wondering, listening to Professor Singh and also Professor Said Rizvi, I think those kind of approach in trying to utilize and capitalizing the technology, artificial intelligence, and distance learning. So those kind of approach maybe also can be used to work together with our African University Association to spread and to to disseminate all this information and knowledge that we have had accumulated in other part of the world. So once again, thank you very much. Maybe they can be used as the one of the agenda for us.
And duly noted, Professor Aman, and definitely that's a great point for a path forward, and a concrete, hopefully, area of the deliverables. I can see that there are many interactions actually taking place at the in the chat. So perhaps actually I would like to maybe offer the opportunity for any last comment before we go to a summary, because I see that the time is running. If there are no immediate requests for the floor, and considering the time, what I would like to maybe ask, perhaps before getting into the summary, our colleagues representing the Association of African Universities, about what you may think you would like to see as part of our work under the IUFOST roundtables. Any areas of specifics, even more, that you would like to see taking shape in the I would say most immediate future.
Thank you very much, Professor Godfrey. I believe that this particular webinar is already achieving its purpose. I can see offers, especially from Kai from South Carolina, making travel grants available for researchers in Africa. I hope that through this type of webinar, more African researchers will be more engaged with IUFOST activities and will get researchers in Africa working together and understanding it themselves. For so many years, the collaboration has been from Africa to the north. It's high time that researchers within Africa start to work with each other. It's high time we know the specialties of the various researchers within the African continent. And I hope that this type of interaction will help us to achieve this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And indeed, actually, the chat is buzzing with offers and opportunities of networking. So definitely this is starting to take shape. with that, I think I'm going to be asking, with your permission, Charles, if we reach the point where we could ask our rapporteurs to make a summary of the discussions, and asking even Dr. Adewale Obadina, as well as Mrs. Felicia Nkrumah Kwagzebede, to provide a summary, please.
Yeah. Thank you, the chair and co-chair. Thank you for the moderators. Our colleagues, actually, you will agree with me that this has been a very interesting and educating webinar. Through this period, we have been made to know that a memorandum of agreement was signed between AAU and IUFOST. And one of the objectives of this memorandum of agreement is to enhance the quality and relevance of higher education in Africa. And as a result of this, AAU came up with the development of a network that is known as African Research, Innovation and Development Network, AFRID. And what is the purpose of AFRID? We need to know that AFRID is developed for exploring and enhancing significantly the quality of research in Africa. And how do they intend doing this? They also made us to realize that the AFRID network intends bringing together a number of African institutions and researchers that are willing to work together. And there are various networks within this AFRID, and one of that network that has brought us here together is the one on food science and technology and agro-processing and food network. And the activities of this AFRID network are, one, there's going to be development of data. There's also going to be capacity building in terms of webinars, workshops, and conferences. The future of AFRID are, one, they are looking for possibility of having academic mobility within the continent, statistics supporting and training for researchers within Africa, and possibility of joint research proposals and workshops and meetings. The IUFOST also made us to realize that IUFOST has an interest in African continent. And why? And one of the why one, the IUFOST realized that there is a ballooning increase in population within the continent of Africa. Also, there is a lot of courses, especially in the area of food science and technology in the continent. And there's also opportunity for investment and regional integration. We were also taken through the importance of mentoring. And we are made to know that academic mentorship is guidance provided by an experienced senior researcher, which is known as mentor, to a younger one that is a mentee. And we are also made to know that mentoring can also be done by senior colleagues. It was also mentioned that an academic mentor is a model, a coach, a guide, an enabler, a motivator, an advocate and supporter. And Professor Awo also made us to realize his experience during his PhD program by a supervisor that also continued to be his mentor, and also part of his lecturers, tutors when he was in the university that continued to be his mentor. I will hand over to Felicia from AAU to give the second part of the summary.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to share my screen in terms of the brief notes that I had captured for the session. Just a second, please. And maybe just to confirm if my screen can be seen. So This is just some of the notes I've taken from the session. So mainly this summary covers the rest of the presentation up to where Prof had ended. So it covered the presentation from the three speakers, Dr. Ruth, Dr. Paul Singh, and then Dr. Said and Prof. Kawi as well. So for the first presentation, Dr. Ruth appreciated AAU and IUFOST for the great work done in coordinating the session. She mainly encouraged the team and indicated the importance and the timeliness of the collaboration. So she really praised the fact that this collaboration is coming at a time where food is critical for the world, and that is actually long overdue. She also referenced the COVID-19 and how critical our local food became during that time and afterwards. Then she highlighted the importance of food. She spoke about us, feeding from food and then its medicinal value as well. She also spoke about food as an asset in terms of highlighting its contribution to health and then to economic advancement. Then she made some critical recommendations that we need to consider and take forward. She spoke about the need for capacity building and that how if we strengthen various collaboration, we can leverage on the expertise resident in various universities, both in Africa and beyond, to train our younger generation. So in terms of the recommendations, there was the highlights about the need to leverage partnerships to ensure that we are building the needed capacity and we are training a critical mass of food scientists that are required to serve the needs of the continent. And then she also highlighted the need for IUFOST to work with the various institutions, including AAU, to assist in reaching out to government to invest in food and to also increase the various budgets for research pertaining to food. Then she also indicated the need for all of us to fundraise because we need funds to help us undertake the research in terms of proving concepts and then establishing laboratories, among others. She equally indicated the leadership issues that need to be attended to, and the fact that, for instance, we need to have chapters in various countries, and how one can even rise to lead in those chapters as well. So overall, she recommended that we set up a committee to take forward the various positions and recommendations from this session. Then we took a presentation from Dr. Paul Singh as well, Professor, and he focused on the various work he has been doing in terms of digitalization and technology in education. He started off by highlighting how his background had impacted, the various innovations and the various work he had come up with in terms of the students he worked with and the various partners he had been engaging with. So he actually highlighted the problem about the misconnect between instructors and students and how disruptive technologies came up and how they got ideas to make specific changes from there on. So he referenced various technological innovations that came up and which they leveraged to improve student learning outcomes. He spoke about various virtual experiments. He referenced some video games that were created. I think we all watched a very engaging one as well. He spoke about video tutorials, and then he rounded off by telling us about the role of the instructor, encouraging all instructors to make learning more interactive by leveraging the various technological tools that are available. Then we also received a presentation from Prof. Said Rizvi, and he spoke about the sustainability of food systems as a whole. So he equally highlighted the criticality of leadership to drive the whole agenda and indicated that beyond leadership, there also has to be the need to strengthen capacity building for a resilient food system. He touched on market intelligence, he touched on technologies, he touched on the need to have the trained manpower, and mentioned also issues related to the need to have harmonized standards, infrastructure, and capital to be able to drive the agenda forward. Then there were some proposed solutions for consideration as well, whether we could look at aspects such as cooperatives, whether we could also look at contract farming, and then he explained what producer company idea was about. as well in his presentation. Then we took, I think, the final presentation from Prof. Kawi, and he spoke about the various key research areas in terms of what he has been focusing on, where his capacity is strong in, and he highlighted food safety and the various research he has been undertaking under food research. He also spoke about modeling, and then indicated his strong skills as far as food processing quality is also concerned, and the various ways he has worked with various African institutions under these research areas. Fortunately, we also had some good opportunities coming out of this presentation, because he referenced some various opportunities that are available under the Rutgers program. So he mentioned the opportunity for undergraduate training and then some short-term study abroad programs as well. I think this is some of the notes, rough notes I was able to capture by way of summary. Thank you all.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Obadina and Felicia, for your excellent summary. So today's webinar has been truly enlightening and enriching. We have identified the essential leadership and capacity building needs pertinent to Africa's development in the field of food science technology. It has underscored the imperative of fostering collaboration and partnership for research and development among academic leaders in this domain. We affirm our commitment to closer collaboration between AAU and IUFOST to translate this aspiration into tangible actions. I noticed that up to this time, we have around 112, and the highest about 120 active attendance. My sincere appreciation goes to the Secretary General of AAU, Professor Oyewole, all the great inspiring speakers with their best practices, both in teaching and research, and in preparing development in food science technology in Africa. I also noticed in the chat room that some of the participants from Africa and beyond start to establish connectivity and networking. This is really wonderful. Let me once again thanking all the chairs, vice chairs, rapporteurs, Secretary General of IUFOST, and the entire team for their efforts in making this webinar a resounding success. Well done. So I turn the screen to Professor Oyewole for closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. It's now left to me to first of all appreciate the Secretary General of IUFOST, Judith, for all preliminary works in ensuring that this webinar take place. I also want to thank Dr. Aman, the President of IUFOST, for the good words you've spoken about this webinar, and also the incoming President, Professor Samuel Geoffrey. I want to appreciate all the resource persons, Professor Charles Awo, Dr. Ruto Wango, Paul Singh, Rizzi, and then Dr. Kama. We appreciate you all. Thanks to the rapporteurs, Professor Badino and Felicia from AAU. We hope that we'll come back to you again and see how we can take this conversation beyond where it is. Thank you very much for all your contributions. We appreciate you all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Yeah. Excellent.
Okay. Thank
Excellent
you.
chairmanship.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Carlos. Yeah. Thank you, Madina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.